It's day 7. And our topic today is probably one of the most important topics in this whole series. And it's about nurture. Do you know how to nurture yourself? Longevity comes from the health of your mind and your spirit. But you have to nurture these. In our society today, man, everyone is stressed out. There are so many stressors coming at us from all these directions, and we get stressed out and anxiety. And what is the level of your anxiety? What do you do to help your anxiety? I work with a lot of clients, and probably the two main diagnoses I give is depression and anxiety. And if you stay anxious long enough, you're going to become depressed. And these two factors, stress and anxiety, affect your sleep, your eating. You store fat cells. It does so many things to your body. It is probably the most biggest thing, deterrent, whatever you want to call it, factor in unhealthy living and longevity. It's been linked to cause autoimmune diseases, stomach problems, heart disease, high blood pressure, and abdominal fat. I'm going to read in the book a little bit because he's can explain it a whole lot better than I am. He said, aside from eating breakfast, the biggest predictor of longevity is psychological resilience, being able to roll with the punches that life throws at us. In other words, how we deal with stress dictates the length and, perhaps more important, the quality of our lives. Anxiety is a killer. Says, chronic stress causes your brain to shrink and your belly to grow. That's because the main stress hormone, cortisol, damages the brain, making the memory center, the hippocampus, shrink. Stress shortens our telomeres, the little end caps on our chromosomes. The shorter your telomeres, the shorter your life. And as you read in Chapter 5, stress also activates a biological response in the body that makes you hungry. It increases your level of insulin and cortisol, sparks an increase in carb and sugar cravings, and at the same time also increases your body's storage of abdominal fat. Anxiety. Chronic unmanaged stress gradually breaks down virtually every system in your body, undermining your immunity and prematurely aging your cells, even as it erodes your relationships and your pleasure in living life. Now, that is some heavy stuff. And I think that I've kind of had the natural personality to deal with anxiety more. I certainly, it is a byproduct of trauma because, you become hypervigilant and you're on watch and those type of things. Fixating on the future. Now, it is my opinion clinically that the number one thing that causes anxiety is trying to control things you have no control over. People, places, things, and situations. You have no control over those. The only thing you have control over is yourself. Your internal world. My daily reprieve is contingent on my spiritual condition. And the more that I stay tapped into my spiritual life, the better my anxiety is. And today, I deal with anxiety off and on in certain situations, but usually I try to get to the root of it. And I'm always trying to control something. I want what I want, or I don't want this to happen. And when I can let go of that, and as a Christian woman and a believer in the faith and all of that, I believe that the one statement is, thy will be done. What is God's will for my life? Well, I don't have a clue. That's the thing. I wanted some grandiose thing to be God's will for my life, and I thought if I actually turned my life over to God, He would send me to Zimbabwe as a missionary, and that never happened. And I called my mentor one day and I said, I don't know what God's will for my life is. And she said, are there dirty dishes in the sink? And I said, yeah. She said, go wash the dishes. I said, is it that simple? And she said, yeah. And what that is doing the next right thing. To let go of the outcome. To live in non-resistance. Anytime I feel that resistance to something, I sit down and I journal. Meditation helps to lower your anxiety. He talks about the vagus nerve in this book, and I've talked about it on here before. But when you get, it kind of starts, and it goes back to your beliefs. You believe a certain way, then you start thinking, and we have a negative bias. We pick that up, and the next thing you know, your stomach's in a knot, and you got weight on your chest, and you feel like you swallowed a piece of carpet. And that is anxiety. Because the vagus nerve attaches to the base of your brain, and it runs through all your major organs, and it spreads out, and it tightens up. And when it does, everything tightens up, and it releases the cortisol and the histamines and all of those type of things, and then it begins to affect your body when you long-term stress. And I know for certain some of the health problems that I have or did have stemmed from running in a state of non-resistance in my sympathetic nervous system. Your sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight. Your parasympathetic nervous system is when you can relax. So you have to nurture this part of yourself. You cannot get it from something outside of yourself. I know that there's a lot of other things that cause stress. It's people pleasing, and that's a lack of boundaries, and emotional dysregulation. If you've dealt with some abuse in your past, your emotional state may be dysregulated, and maybe you need to go get some help to help regulate your emotions. These are the top factors that cause stress in our lives. Learn 2 coping skills to deal with stressors. Breathing. He talks a lot about breath work. So breathing, you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. You can take a breath in, try to breathe from your diaphragm. You have to concentrate to do this, and then you release through your mouth. And when you do that, if you release longer than you breathe in is a technique. Box breathing. 4, you count. You breathe in and count 4. You hold it for 4. You release for 4, and you hold it for 4. You have to count because you want to interrupt your thoughts. Fixating on the future. And then you get to ruminating about the past. You're not living in the present moment. In this present moment, oftentimes we have no problems. They stem from our thinking about the what ifs. What if this happened? And what if that happened? And you have to squelch the what if. What if I prayed? What if I did a 5-minute meditation? What if I did a detox bath and relaxed? What if, you can switch the what if from the negative to the positive. And these techniques work. Grounding. And that's I use that term in clinical sense. Grounding means to come outside yourself and describe your surroundings. You know, you can do earth grounding, but going outside, listen to the birds. Every morning I take my dogs out first thing with my Yeti of water, and I'm outside, just outside, taking it in and drinking my water. Probably some of the best nurturing I do all day. So it's not that you play games on your phone or you watch your television set or you do those sort of things. That is not rest. That is disassociation. And I'm really good at that. And I have used that. And I last year decided that I was going to detox from playing games on my phone. And I did, because it's a form of disassociation. I can get on here on YouTube and go down the rabbit hole and that's a form of disassociation. True rest is when you are at ease in your body, that you are in a state of non-resistance. And sometimes I have to say, you know what, God, if that thing I'm afraid of is your will for my life, so be it. The willingness to give that up, to let go of the I want or the I don't wants, and just relax in that secret place of the Most High. Psalms 98 is the protection Psalms. You know, I will dwell in the secret place of the Most High. That is the most nurturing thing I can do as a woman of faith. Scripture helps me. I have index cards, and I write scriptures on them, and I can go through these, and there are scriptures that help me, and certain ones, and I know what they are if I'm dealing with, but it says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your requests be made known unto God, and the peace of God, which pass all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ. That's our promise. Feed your faith the promises of God, because you're either in fear or faith, and anxiety is fear. I hope this helps you today. Like I said, this is probably the most important day. This is day 7. I feel really good. My jeans don't fit as tight today that I put on, and I'm excited about that. So as we wind this up toward the end of this, we have 3 more days after this one, and stay strong. Connect into the community. If you know some other creators or people on here that are doing this, and you have the ability to email them or get some encouragement from each other. Community. There is strength in community. So, and the most important part while you do all of this is to be you on purpose.